Okay, folks, we're back. It took me a while to get this set up because I ran into a few issues, but I think we should be ready to go. And I've moved to the Z50 now because I'm going to need the phone to inject a signal into the tuner. So anyway, this was quite a bit more complicated than I wanted it to be. This is the cord that came with the silver. It fits just fine. But unfortunately, the one that came with the pulsar does not fit this thing. It's a different connector on this end. So what I had to do is I had to take this weird thing and cut it off this, and then I had to modify a computer power supply cord to work properly. So fun! Now, I wonder if you guys can still see. I gotta get up and check my shot here. I think you can, so what I'm going to do first is take this cassette door off. Reason being, if I get a tape locked in there, I need to be able to pull the transport out from the back because that's the only way to cycle the mechanism if the belt is broken or whatever's going on with it. So, this should be ready for 120 something volts, so I guess nothing left to do but to try it. Plug her in here, maybe. Yeah, she's plugged in. Cross your fingers. Okay, we've got action. It's on the tuner right now. I don't know if it's really working. This knob is rubbing quite a bit, so I don't know how much I like that. Let me swivel it this way. Long wave isn't doing much. Probably because we have no stations in this country for long wave. I should be getting medium wave though, because that is AM. Huh. Anyway, let's give FM a go here. I've got my little finger set up here. We'll turn that on. And let's see if we can pick it up. That looks to be it right there. It's hard to see, but I've got the tuning indicator and I've got the stereo indicator. So let's run some vaporwave and see if it'll play. Well, it's playing an ad. Lovely. Real scratchy controls. We'll have to deal with that. Very familiar with that on the pulsar. It's got plenty of power for the age and the era it was made in. I'm real happy about that. Anyway, tuner at least works well enough to do FM. But yeah, that's a major problem with the pulsar too. These controls. Weird that that is staying on. Anyway, let's see what the tape does. If it does anything at all. The mechanism is not engaged. And I'm loading something in I can afford to lose. We got nothing. It's not even making an attempt. So yes, definite tape issues. We're going to have to get inside this and work on it. It's weird that these don't click on and off like the pulsar does, so this may be a little bit different of a mechanism after all, so we'll have to see. Yeah, nothing's moving in there. So I'm guessing the belts for sure are gone. There's more than one. There's one for the counter and there's one for the main mechanism, so yeah, I guess we're going to get inside this thing now and start working on it. And I'll probably go back from the Z50 to the phone. It's a little easier to use the phone, because that way I know when my battery's dead. Anyway, be back in a jiffy. Okay folks, it's time to go to work on this guy. What I'm going to do first is take that back off again, because I took pictures for Farcebook. And now we are going to get inside this thing. Battery door off. Now there are 6 screws to remove on these silver decks. There's 2 at the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 2 on top. And all of these screws are stripped out on my pulsar, so this is the first time I've seen the original screws in decades, literally. I'll have to be careful putting them back in so as to avoid stripping them out again. Now in my last video about this, I mentioned Harman Kardon was owned by Shin Shirasuna for a brief period of time. And they stopped owning Harman Kardon somewhere in the mid-80s, because that's when Sidney Harman decided he wanted to get back into the audio business and take back his brand name. So Shin Shirasuna sold it back to Sidney Harman, and then Hitachi came along and bought Shin Shirasuna. So this company ceased to exist sometime towards the end of the 80s. But Sidney Harman got his brand back, and as of, I'd say about 85 or so, anything with a Harman Kardon name on it was back under his control. I don't know who manufactured the gear for Harman Kardon at that time. I know they had factories in Japan yet, but it wasn't Shin Shirasuna because Hitachi bought them. Anyway, should be ready to come off now. I repeat, should be. It's been a while since I had the pulsar apart, so yeah, there we go. And you gotta watch their little weird antenna lines, because they love to come apart like that, and then you can't figure out where the heck they went. And I'll show you why in a second if I can get this connector to behave itself. There we go. So this is the power supply section. It'll have a little voltage doubler circuit in there somewhere for the 110 volt operation, because it's designed to work off 240 or 250 or whatever. But it's simple enough and it gets the job done. But enough about that. Power supply works, so we don't need to look at that. Now the thing with the antenna, if you can see it, that's the connection here for the antenna. And it looks like this is an exception, but the pulsar has more than one of those little metal posts on there, and not all of them go where they're supposed to. Now, the other thing about Shin Shirasuna is these tape decks are just not that easy to work on, ever. And it looks like this is even worse than the pulsar is. There's multiple connectors of the same type, and if you're not careful, and if you're not taking detailed notes, you can put something together wrong and screw it up for good. So, let me figure out what I need to do here. I think all of this needs to come out first. I'm looking at the capacitors too, and they all look pretty good. So I'm not sure we're going to do much with those. I may do a little bit of a recap, but I don't know if it's that critical on this one. Anyhow, there's your AM antenna right up in there. Likely works for medium wave too, if you happen to be in a place where medium wave is a thing. But yeah, there's just enough different in here from the pulsar that I can just tell I'm going to go nuts. But nothing's getting done with me sitting here rambling on, so let's get started. Let's see if I can disconnect the audio from the tape deck. There we go. Virtually everything will need to be unplugged in here, if it's anything like the pulsar. And I just hope I can get this all back together and working properly, because, yeah, no service data available, to my knowledge. Hitachi might have some knowledge of that, but good luck getting anything out of them in 2021 for something that's this old. Okay, that one goes down in there. Remember that. I might have to refer back to this video for that one. Now we've got a power cord up here. Or not power cord, power switch. Where does that go? I think it runs to this connector, which we already unplugged, that goes down to the power supply. But yeah, because the tape counter is tucked in behind that circuit board, we're going to have to take this out. And I hope I can remember how to do that without damaging things. Or at least remember how I did it on the pulsar. This has to come out somehow, if I can get it out. That's a big if right now. I hate to pry on anything because this is in such amazing shape for the age. I mean, it's got some wear on the chrome up here on the power switch, but cosmetically this is in fantastic shape. So we've got another little connector down in there to deal with. I'm pointing right at it. I don't know if you can see it. Not exactly sure where that one goes or what it does. Well, maybe we'll find out in due time. If I can get it unplugged. There we go. It's unplugged. Runs in behind there. It's probably for the level meters. That would be my guess. I gotta get some kind of sheet or something to protect the face because I gotta lay this down. Fortunately, I don't have to go far. And it just occurred to me you may not have heard that because I don't have the Rode Wireless Go on right now. Anyway, that's okay. Now figuring out which screws are which here is the problem. You've got these two screws here, if you can see them. Just kind of right there. Those don't come out. It's the larger ones, like this, that do come out. So I'll just set those aside. And the other thing you gotta watch is that right around the tuning knob there are 3 screws that kind of look like that, and only one of them comes out. So yeah, well actually there's 4 in this unit. I'll show you there. Right up in this corner. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's the one that's right up at the top, I think, that comes out. The rest of them stay in place. Maybe not. That's a short one. Gotta remember that. Nope, she's not loose yet. There's our next one. I'll show you which one I took out. It's the one right up here by this capacitor. It's still not loose. What am I missing? Oh, there's one way down there in the power supply. I don't think I can even get in there to show you. It's right down back, way back in there. So, good thing I've got the long screwdriver, because it is very much needed right now. Oh, and there's one more even. Sort of in the same vicinity. There we go, there's that one. And I'm guessing this little short one from up by the tuner knob can go back in because I don't think it was necessary to come out. So I'm going to put that one back in. And I'm going to go after this really tough one, which I don't know how they ever expected people to service this one. It's impossible to get at. And I just dropped it because there are wires and they hung up on it. Just lovely. And we've got another connector to release here. This little black one goes right down here into the side of the tape deck board. So yeah, Shin Shirasuna made some amazing products, but serviceability, not fun. Okay, now we're getting some movement here. Will it come out now? Apparently not. Let me go get another flashlight so I can see a little better. Fair bit of dust in there too, I gotta say. Like I said, it's been a while since I last did anything with these old things. Oh, and there's yet another connector on the side of the tape deck. Right there. Yeah, this is beginning to remind me of the pulsar. I just hope I can put everything back in where it's supposed to go. It's always been a problem with these old silver units for me. Maybe I shouldn't have put that screw back in, because I think it does need to come out. No, something's still holding it. Oh, yes. This is reminding me why I don't like working on these. Yeah, there is one screw still holding it on, and it's not the one I just took out. It's that one right there. So I'm going to put the other one I just took out back in there again for the second time, because I don't want the tuner string coming out with it. Or rather, going slack because there's nothing holding it anymore. There we go. That should be the last screw. One can only hope. So let's see here. Oh, yep. She's ready to come. Provided I can get her out. Oh, we've got one more little connector. It's this white wire here. It's on another one of those little metal posts. So yeah, now I think she'll come out. Yep, easy peasy. Oh, and there's another little metal post type connector. Blue wire right here. Right there. So yeah, these silver units can be quite the nightmare, unfortunately. Let me set this aside here so you can see the front of this board. And this is what I mean about the tuner string. There's two screws from this side are holding that in place. So if you took those out, this would loosen up and flop all over the place, and then you'd be having to restring the mechanism. And that ain't no fun. Now, because I would like to service the slider controls here, we need to remove this nut right here. And I bet you I don't have the right tool for that right now. And this ain't the right tool either, but it'll do. I have done this countless times on the pulsar, And it appears that I have to do it on here too. And we got to take these two screws out. And I hope you can see those. These two screws right there. I gotta say, these new lights I bought from eBay for doing this kind of work are really helping me right now. They're not the best quality, but they're getting the job done. That's all I wanted from them. Now this should be able to just come out right now, but I am getting ahead of myself. There are screws to take out, because of course there are. How do I get at those again? Yes, we take this little screw out for the bracket here. It's like that on the pulsar too, I just forgot. Can you tell I don't like getting inside these very much? I was thinking about grabbing one of the old Harman Kardons for the channel to work on, but then I'm dealing with this nightmare all over again. So I would prefer not to do that. Okay, tuner board is out. Now we can work on the rest of it. And this is a real good time to inspect solder joints. Because let me tell you something, I've had to do numerous soldering repairs on the pulsar. And I would expect it's not much different for this unit. And before I put this together, well, I don't know. I could recap this thing. It doesn't need much. It just needs this board done if I do it. The power supply. But I might as well write down the values in case I do decide to do it. So, we got 3 screws. Then we can pull this plastic piece off. I do like that this unit seems to have color coding for which connectors go to the cassette transport. Looks like they use black connectors for the cassette and then these white connectors for everything else. That is not the case in the pulsar. The pulsar uses all the same color connectors and it's a nightmare if you're not paying attention. And hopefully I'm paying enough attention because I am not writing anything down right now. That's always helpful, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Now these are the potentiometers they use for these. And I've had mixed success cleaning them, but we're going to try anyway because we're already here. Okay, we got to do this upside down, I guess, because this has lost so much propellant. This is always fun. Okay, that should do. Looks like we've got a little 5-segment meter here for the VU meter. This is different from my pulsar. The pulsar has record, playback, and pause LEDs here instead, but it looks like not a lot is different between them otherwise. It's the same circuit board, I think. So hopefully these controls are less crackly now. Won't know for sure till I get it back together and test it. But we got to get to the tape deck, so let's see if I can get this back on. I think that's got him. Just got to take a look through the edges here just to be sure they're totally engaged. I'd love to show you what I'm doing right now, but yeah, we got it. We're good to go. Now, I want to show you a little trick with these little plastic screws. It's real easy to strip these out. So what I like to do is when I put them in, I wait until they thump like that. I run them backwards, and they'll thump, and that means they're seated and correctly threaded. Now you can tighten them. If I'd known that when I was 12, I wouldn't have had to use weird replacements in the pulsar, because all of those screws are stripped out in the pulsar, because I didn't know better back then. BEA beautiful. Now, don't forget this. We got to do this. I'm not going to be using it with headphones, so I won't even bother cleaning this. I should be resoldering it. I don't think it's real bad. Nope, the solder joints are fine. Now we got to put our screws back in for this thing. Just got to make sure they're all threading properly. Now we're going to remarry the tuner board to this thing. If we can figure out how to do it. Man, you'd think this would be a lot easier considering how often I've done it before on the pulsar. But no. Helps if I put it back together the right way too, doesn't it? Oh, I see. There's another screw I didn't need to take out. Lovely. So I'm going to put that one back in too. Actually, several of these didn't need to come out. What great fun. Can you tell it's been a while? Yeah, this is the one, well, one of the ones I was showing that was really hard to access with the unit in place. And the other one was this screw hole right here. You just have to get a screwdriver in between the circuit board and the bottom of the case, and It's just not that easy. I'd best re-bracket this before it's too late. If I can get that to line up again. Always fun on these units. Looks like it's shifted out of position a little bit. That's okay. It's lined up again. But yeah, on the pulsar, I'm always amazed when I get it back together and it still works because of all the complexity involved with taking these Shin Shirasuna units apart. So I'll put this one back in too, since that just holds on that plastic piece with the sliders on it. Don't need to go Hercules on these screws. This probably won't get too much use for me, honestly. It really isn't necessary for my enjoyment of music, really. Okay, so this screw stays out. That's a mounting screw for the entire assembly. So we've got that screw, that screw, that screw, and that screw that hold it in. So yeah. Just looking at these tiny little wires here, trying to make sure they're all okay. We don't really have any radio stations nearby anyway, so I'm not going to worry about whether or not the tuner actually works. All right, now let's get to the real fun. Oh boy, I am not looking forward to this, guys. I am really not looking forward to this. But it's got to get done. And so it shall get done. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two screws out from the microphone inputs, because I believe they do need to come out. There is a connector going to that board, but some of the wires are directly soldered into the tape deck circuit board, which is always fun. It'll be lovely if we ever get to see the tape mechanism at this rate, but you can't really rush this. And I don't think I feel like making more than 2 videos from this, so this is going to be a long one. I will not apologize. Y'all are either watching to the end or you aren't. Maybe this will help somebody in the future though, so I'm trying to show everything I'm doing. Right now I'm just taking the screws out for the cassette transport, and there's a few of them. Either our belt is broken or it's slipped off the pulleys like the pulsars. That's what I'm guessing is wrong with it. Okay, it's loose and ready to come up, theoretically. Oh, we've got more here. There is stuff in here that the pulser does not have. And it's all soldered in place. Just lovely. Why would they do this? Okay, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wires that are all soldered in. And I can see the belt now. Take a look at that, if you can. Let me see if I can point you down. Or up. Actually, let me just pick you up here. See that? Yep, we got a bad belt. All right. Now, I don't see much other choice here than to just go ahead and desolder all these wires, because I don't really want to take this all the way apart. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I will set this gingerly back in place for now, and I will see you in a bit. Okay, we are back, and we are ready to get started on the transport. I hope. I'm all gloved up and sort of ready to go. I guess, maybe. I don't know. This is not going to be fun. This is not going to be anywhere near fun. And this might be in a separate video, given what I'm having to deal with here. There's multiple belts in there. This isn't the same mechanism I've dealt with the pulser. It's similar, but yeah, this is going to be a bear. So I think the first thing we need to do is take this board off the bottom so we can access different pieces of it underneath. I'm just checking how to do that right now. We've got a spring right here we're going to need to be careful of, because that's going to need to come off in order to even get at the belts in there. Oh, what a nightmare. Well, actually, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I'm the Pope. We got to get started here, so let's do that. I've already gotten nice and messy. I got belt goo all over the front of my nice rare silver boombox. Had to clean that off before I started filming. Okay, board is loose. It's kind of funny. They had this thing on the opposite side of the transport here, but it wasn't holding any wires. Weird. Oh yes, that belt is terrible. We might actually have a missing belt in there too. Just perfect. Perfecto. Those wires are soldered in, so I cannot do anything with them. Great. Unless I want to unsolder more wires, and I do not want to do that. So it looks like what we're dealing with here is this little plate here holds the capstan assembly in place. What this does is it activates the record switch, which is this big long thing right up here. I should clean that, but because I don't plan to use it for recording, I may not. I've had to do that multiple times on the pulsar, as you might expect by now, and we're going to have to pull this off in order to get access to this plate. And be careful with this. This is not tightened all the way down because it has to move freely. So you can't Hercules it down, otherwise you will screw that up. Okay, what do we got to do next? I guess we'll pull that plate off next. I don't know if I need a number 0 or a number 1. Let's try a number 1 first. And this is going to be extra fun because we have no idea what type of belt to use in the replacement. Normally what you do to figure out the belt for an application like this where you don't know exactly what to replace it with, you take a piece of string and you measure the tape path that way. Then you deduct maybe 10% or so, and that will give you the right, well, in the ballpark of the right number. We're going to have to do some cleaning up with this, I think. And we'll relube that, but I'll put this out of the way here. Now we should be able to get the capstan flywheel off. I'm just looking to see if there's any oil keepers. There might be, actually. Yes, there is one. I'm just going to have to pull it right off and hope I can find that later, because there's no possible way for me to deal with that right now. So, yeah. That's just peachy. Now, flashlight. Yeah, we've got a pulley way up here that has no belt. Right up there. Belt's missing from there. We've got another belt, little tiny one down here, and that's all gone to goo. And then we've, of course, got the main drive belt, which is terrible. So I'm going to need to do some more disassembly because this is just not good. But I got to get some rubbing alcohol going here because I got to clean off a bunch of belt goo. Let me see if I can show you what I'm doing here before I start doing it. And there you go. There's the first of it. And there's some more. There's probably all kinds of gunk in there that I got to deal with. And I will reiterate, I really hope I can get this back together and working properly after this is done, because this is a nightmare. I honestly do not like my odds. I really don't. Anyhow, we'll do our best and see how crazy I can go in the process. And fat chance I'm going to get that motor to come out. without major disassembly. But I may have to do that yet because I need to see what pulley drives that little thing. I'll give it this though. The belt for the tape counter seems okay. I'm somewhat shocked. That belt might actually drive that gear as well. Or pulley, I mean. I have no idea. I'm just going to have to pull this motor off. That's the only way to really do this properly, I think. And in order to do that, I got to take the top plate off. Mustn't forget there's this little metal shield up there, which is likely quite important. And here we go. We're getting more and more access all the time. Okay, now to get the motor off, we got this one screw here. And then there's another screw right down in here. And that's a tiny one, that one. But this is good. Now we can see. Oh, okay, I see where that belt went. Went along in here. And it looks like it's now wrapped around the little gear in there. So lovely. This is going to be so much fun. I can hardly contain myself. Putting this together will be even worse than taking it apart, I'm sure. Let me screw that back in place because I don't want to lose that. That little caper spring for the cassette. There we go. Now we'll just have to move things around as we need to in order to get full access. Did I mention I don't like my odds of this working out? Because I really do not like my odds. I'm already getting real dirty here. Well, maybe before we get any further with the transport, we'll clean this off because this is just disgusting. Absolutely nasty. And this is one thing I actually wanted to point out about these Shin Shirasuna decks. Look at this flywheel. It's nice. Full metal. Got nice weight to it. You don't find that in my Panasonic boomboxes. And if I'm being totally honest with you, my Pulsar always did record tapes better than the Panasonic did. Don't ask me why. They had more bass than I ever got out of the Panasonic. Oh, good Lord, look at that. I need another shop towel. This is getting worse and worse and worse. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure yet how I'm going to figure out the tape path on this. Because it's just so inaccessible, everything in this deck, that I'm not sure how I would be able to do that. Okay, where's my little mini screwdriver now? I'm going to come at it from here, just sort of scrape around so I can be sure I get all the belt goo off the pulley that needs to come off. Oh boy, this is just terrible. Still got to do more. When I say worst ever, I am serious. But I think we've basically gotten where we need to be on that. Now we gotta clean this crap off. Ain't that just lovely? You know what? It just occurred to me, I never tested to see whether this motor worked. I hope it does. Otherwise, I'm doing this for nothing. Because I don't know where I'd find a replacement for that motor in 2021. Well, that's going to do it, I think. I am just tired of messing with this little gear. Is it perfect? No, but it's considerably cleaner than it was. And we do have to move on with this. Before I start forgetting how to put this thing back together, that is. So, that's done. We'll throw it back on the capstan here. And I will clean the capstan one more time, like so. Easy to do while it's out. And that should be done. Now we gotta finish taking the motor off. Which should just be the one screw. The one little tiny screw. And there you go. Little pieces of belt coming off everywhere. Sticking to my gloves, because of course they are. I am probably going to get a new pair of gloves out right now. Now, we'll get out yet another shop towel. And we will clean some more. Buy a silver, I said. It'll be fun, I said. Yeah, right. This isn't fun. This is a nightmare. Especially with all these fully soldered in wires. Could have used a connector, but no, can't have that. Pieces of belt wrapped around the pulleys. There we go. Hope I don't have to deal with this with a pulser yet, too. But knowing my luck, it's exactly what's going to go down. Pulsar is going to be just as bad, probably. Just doing the outer pulley first, because there are a couple of them on this motor shaft. Oh, that's not good. The motor was seized up. That's really not so good. This may never work again, actually. May never. I didn't say I was giving up on her. If I need to get a new motor for it, I can easily consult the pulser, because I'm betting it uses the same one. It's just finding that motor locked up is not a good sign at all, because it may never move again on its own power. But you don't know till you try. Look at that stuff. Nasty. Already ruined these new gloves I put on. But we're just going to push through as best we can. Get her all cleaned up. And I'll probably try to androl the motor and see if we can free it up a little more. I broke it loose, but it's really not moving that good. I would rather not use the pulser to fix this one, so this may end up being just a display piece, just to say I have one. Oh boy, is that ever bad. Thinking I'm probably doing all this for nothing right now, because it's got this section in it where it just hangs right up and just doesn't turn. But I will hit it with the androl and we'll see what happens. Where did I put the androl? Yeah, I really don't like my chances of this working again now. But we got the pulley pretty much figured out now, and fixed and cleaned. Still a little more goo in there to get off, but now that the pulley is off, it's easy to get at it. Man, I don't know why I bought this thing for this channel. Could be I'm wasting my time right now. Could be I wasted all my money right then. But you never know. At least we know the Panasonic RXDS50 is going to work fine once I'm done with it. That thing is coming back from the dead nicely. Just trying to work that androl in there. But yeah, this dead spot in the motor is not going away. I don't even know if I can take this motor apart to work on it. I probably could free it up a little better if I took the thing apart, but I can't even read the numbers on that label anymore, so. Replacing that motor is going to be fun, because I'll have to get the numbers off the pulsar just to find another motor. Man, no wonder the cassette deck didn't do anything when I pushed any of the buttons. All the belts gone, plus this motor being seized up. Okay, it's starting to free up a little more now. Maybe there's hope. Maybe not. This must be a fairly well-used deck, because yeah, this motor is just toast. Well, I hate to say this, guys, because I usually pride myself on being able to fix any of these things, but I just don't have any hope for this motor. It just locks up solid in certain places, and there's nothing I can do to free it up. I'm going to have to do my service on the pulsar and, well, I don't know. Maybe it heard me talking. Seems like it's getting easier. Yeah, it's barely hanging up now. Maybe the androl is having an effect. Still really tight right there, though. I mean, it's getting easier, but as long as it's got that little dead spot in it, it's not going to work right. I can promise you that. Okay, here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead, reassemble, and rebelt anyway. We've still got more cleaning to do, but I think that's about as good as the motor's going to get, so I'm just going to let it sit there now and think about what it's done. And I'm going to get to cleaning some of these other pulleys. Okay, and it occurs to me that I need to find that oil seal, which could be anywhere by now. I am sure it'll turn up in my dreams. Maybe before the sun dies, too. Just after the point pigs fly. Let me guess, that's the wrong screw. Hi, we're Silver. Let's use 2 different types of screws for everything in this deck. Service technicians won't mind, will they? And while we're at it, let's just solder every wire, or every other wire, to the board. Service technicians really appreciate that. I'm about ready to give up on this thing. There's a bunch of old junky grease in there too that I would have to take this whole thing apart and clean. I just don't see myself doing all that. At least not on this unit. So I think what I got to do first is get the main belt figured out. Then I can do this little one here, and then I can do this one. So I'm going to go with another set of gloves. I'm going to shut you off for a minute. Okay, we are back, and I'm back on the Z50 because I darn near ran the battery dead on my phone. And I need my phone anyway to see where to put those wires back. But here's where we're at. I have rebelted this thing off camera. Sorry to do that to you guys, but this is just nightmarish. So I'll tell you which belts I used. For the main flat belt, the one that turns the capstan flywheel, I used an 8-inch internal circumference. And this feels really tight. It's probably a little tighter than it should be for this application, but since this motor is locked up anyway and has dead spots in it, I'm just not going to worry about it. Now for the little square belt that goes from the motor pulley to this pulley, I used a 2-inch, or no, not 2-inch, 4-inch internal circumference. It's 4 inches and 1.2 millimeters wide. Now this one up at the top, I don't know if you can see it, and I can't really look while I'm pointing. That one is about 6 inches, and it's also a square 1.2 millimeter belt. So either it works or it doesn't. I am just done with this. And I'm ready to put her back together, I think. I did find the missing oil seal for the capstan. It was still sitting on top of the capstan where it comes out on the other side, so no worries there. But yeah, we've got all new belts. It might work, it might not do anything because of this motor, but yeah. As soon as I get to working on the pulsar, I'll get the motor number off that machine, and then we'll see if I can find another motor for this one. But it really doesn't matter to me whether or not this works anymore. It's just part of the collection, and that's all. So I have got to put everything back together now. Won't that be a fun time? Got wires everywhere. This needs to go over to the main board. So just trying to untangle things is fun. So I think the first thing I am going to do is put this plate back on. Assuming I can get it to go back on. Maybe I'll wait on that. I'll do the circuit board first. And in order to do the circuit board first, we have to put this back on, don't we? Fun. Oh, right, I gotta lube this. Somehow, some way. I had totally forgotten about that with all the nightmare that I endured with those belts. But we'll get to it right now. and give it some nice, lovely new grease. I basically gave up on the gloves at this point because, yeah, nightmare. Okay, now I need one more. Q-tip. I don't know why I'm even bothering lubricating this at this point, because it's probably not going to work anyway, but what the heck. Let's have some fun. I gotta say though, I really appreciate them for using that giant metal flywheel. Like I said, the Panasonic has no such thing. And that's a shame. Because I will service the Panasonic any day of the week over this. Oh, and that is really, really stiff. See if I can get it moving a little better here. That should really be lubed up with Lubriplate too, but then I got to deal with this stupid little E-clip, and you know E-clips, they're terrible. So, how to put this thing back on? How did it come off? That's the good question. There we go. We got her. Ah, boy. I knew there was a reason why I was waiting this long to tackle this project. I think that's about right. And remember what I said about this little guy. It's got to be somewhat loose, so it can move freely, just like so. Okay. Are we making progress yet? Because I'm not sure we are. I mean, it's got new belts, but heaven only knows if that motor will even spin them. It's that bad in there. And like I said, replacing a motor from 1983 may not be that easy. May not be that easy at all. Okay, what else do I got to do here? Got one last screw, and where is it? It's hiding is what it is. But not really hiding that much, because I just found it. It's in the wrong spot is where it is. Are we having fun yet? If you are, I'm glad somebody is. Okay, I'm going to shut you off and I'm going to go get my soldering iron heat it up again. Well, folks, it's the moment of truth, and I hope you don't mind if I didn't show the laborious process of putting this thing back together, because I really don't want to do anything more in terms of video, so we are about to find out if this works. Power on. Now let's see if the mechanism will do anything. No. See if we can get it to eat a tape. Nope, nothing's happening. There's a possibility that There's a possibility that the mechanism might be mistimed. Decks like this sort of rely on proper timing. But yeah, like nothing's working. I don't hear anything going on in there at all. So this thing might be a dud. There's no way to get back in there and look at it right now, so I guess that's going to be it for this one. You can't win them all. So I guess that's going to be it for this little adventure. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.